Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Come on in. Thank you for joining.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Rebecca, if you want, go ahead and tell them about the Jamboard.
All right, welcome in everyone. We have a Jamboard. Do you want to scroll down, Myra? Feel free to scan it. We have a QR code there. I will also drop the direct link in the chat. So here we go. All right, so if you're new to Jamboard, pretty much you'll see a bunch of different sticky notes on there. Select whatever color fancies you, and then you'll want to add your name, your campus, and then what are your questions and curiosities about LinkedIn today. So hopefully we can get to all of those and answer those by the end of today's Zoom.
Great. And while we do that, we finally figured out the audio issue. Dua Lipa is in the house today to provide some entertainment while we fill out that Jamboard, everyone. So there we go.
And then maybe we'll give everyone about 5 minutes there. So about 10:10, we'll get started, Myra.
Yeah. And I'm gonna share the Jamboard.
Let me.
Yeah. I think it's Rebecca, it's view only for the Jamboard, so nobody can edit.
Just drop the one with the edit.
Do I have to download the app? The Jamboard app?
You should too.
It says I have to download the app.
Are you on mobile or desktop, Julie?
I used the QR code on my mobile. Let me try the desktop.
Yeah, maybe you could try the link in the chat.
Oh, the desktop works. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
There we go.
Mobile, no.
Oops. Rebecca, did you want to share the Jamboard on your end?
I can do that. There we are. And then those of you who want to just drop it in the chat, I can carry it over to the Jamboard.
So remember, put your name, your campus, and then what your questions and curiosities about LinkedIn are. We'll give it about a minute more. Oh, now we got Beyonce in the house. Okay. All right. Okay, great. So thank you so much for filling that out. Already seeing some great things in there. How LinkedIn works, what it is. Awesome. So we'll get to some of those. Everything, love it. Thank you, Paola. Awesome. Okay, so if you haven't already done so, like I said, go ahead and put your name, campus, and any questions or curiosities about LinkedIn. In the meantime, Rebecca, if you can stop your share, and then I'll share my board over here. All right. Here we go. Okay, so before we get started, you might be wondering if you weren't here last week. I am Myra Perez, and I am a program coordinator here along with my awesome coworker.
Hey everyone, my name is Rebecca. I am also a program coordinator locally here in the Bay, and I'll turn it over to Cheryl.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Cheryl Martinez, STEM program manager with Growth Sector. For those of you who are not familiar with who Growth Sector is, we are a national nonprofit based out of the Bay Area, but we have a presence all over the country. Probably how you are connected with us, or definitely how you're connected with us, is we work closely with your student support specialists on campus, your faculty, to implement the STEM core program. So just some context, and we'll be here all semester, all year, bringing you cool opportunities. And then Gabe is on the line too, so I want to make sure you can introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, Gabe, National STEM Director. Great to see everyone. Happy Friday.
Yay! Well, thank you so much for those introductions, everyone. But before we get started, we want to make sure that you are aware of some awesome upcoming STEM core events. As you can see here, last week we had how to create a STEM resume workshop, which if you didn't attend, we do have up on our YouTube channel, which we can definitely send out to your support specialist to send to you all to check it out. Today, obviously, is the creating the professional LinkedIn profile. And then next week, we're going to have Caltrans coming to speak to you virtually, which is a really great opportunity to learn about the employer, the opportunities, what they do, opportunities for summer internships. And that goes for all of our employer speaker series events that we're going to have. So definitely make sure to mark those on your calendar. We have quite a few awesome employers this semester coming to speak to you. And then also, do not forget, if you are in need of tutoring, especially because it's a Friday or even Saturday, and you get stuck on some problem that you have for your math homework, feel free. We have a virtual free tutoring for you all. This will, your support specialist should also have this information sent out to you, but it's a great virtual way to just drop in and get some help. Do keep in mind there are students who are at all sorts of different math levels who will be there getting help. So it's kind of like a neat drop-in kind of study math session just done virtually. But yes, please make sure to make use of it. It's there for you to use. So definitely make sure to check it out. Whoop, there we go. All right, so without any further ado, what is the purpose of today? We wanted to bring this workshop to you because we think LinkedIn is a really important tool for you to be able to use. And in essence, we want to make sure that you know how to work it and work it to your benefit. So with LinkedIn, it really is, think of it as a powerful job board. As a job seeker, you are able through LinkedIn to look for job opportunities. You can apply for jobs, and you can also network. I like to think of LinkedIn as a great way to build your online presence and even kind of like your online brand, right? Just like companies build their brands, it's important for you to start making like your virtual footprint in the world and industry. So this is a great way to do it. As you also know, Google is a very powerful search engine, and I don't know if you've ever done it yourself, but I know I have. I'm guilty of it. I have Googled myself and see what comes up, right? I'd suggest doing it for you too, just to see, what does come up. But if an employer does that for you, Googles you after you've applied, you want to make sure that things like LinkedIn pop up. And if you do have a LinkedIn page, it's usually something that does pop up for employers. And so that's why we want to make sure that it's in like the best shape possible. And also think of LinkedIn as a virtual Rolodex. If you don't know what a Rolodex is, which many of you might not, just think of it as like a list of contacts, right? But professional contacts. It's a great way to kind of keep in touch and keep people in the professional realm that you have met that you may want to reach out to or reconnect with one day regarding a potential job opportunity or to network. With that said, another thing that LinkedIn is useful for is because a lot of companies have their own LinkedIn page and, they take time to build it up and post things that are important to them. It's a great way to do some research on companies. Many of them will update like their company information on there, share news and insights, or maybe projects that they've worked on, or showcase employees. So again, it's another great way to learn about a company that you may be interested in. And not just, that company in particular, but once you start kind of going down the rabbit hole of all these awesome different other companies that are in maybe within the same realm of industry that you're interested in, you'll find news updates, via your connections or your groups. And again, it's just a great way to keep tabs on the industry trends and reports. And then last but not least, it really is a great networking tool. But for obviously professionals, right? And please make sure that you put in your mind that you are a professional. You are definitely, you might be newer to the professional world, but still nonetheless, like you're working towards, your professional career in STEM. So might as well start early. And so with that, even if you're an introvert and hate like networking events or kind of having to like mingle in person, you really can foster some awesome, meaningful LinkedIn connections here. So through LinkedIn, you can build a relationship with mutual connections, folks in your field, and even role models that you may have. Case in point, if you attend next week's Caltrans employer speaker event, a lot of these employers who come and speak to us, they're always awesome in the sense that they will offer like their contact information. And so if you just felt like, wow, this person, I love how they spoke, I love that they work at Caltrans, that's a company that I've always wanted to work with, look them up on LinkedIn and connect with them. Doing it that same day is a great, not excuse not the word I'm looking for, but in essence, kind of like a reason. There you go. It's a great reason to be able to connect with them that same day and send them a little message and say, hey, so-and-so, you spoke at my program's employer speaker series event today, and I really liked what you said about working at Caltrans and just your journey as an engineer. I was wondering if I could maybe, connect with you one day to ask you more about what it's like working at Caltrans or whatever it may be, right? But again, you'll be fresh in their minds. They'll remember, oh yeah, I spoke at STEM Core's event today. And again, just a great way to be able to network and start making those connections. All right, now Rebecca's turn.
Alrighty, so here are the following items that you'll need in order to prepare your profile. So again, if you were with us last week on Friday, you're already one step ahead. You kind of already know kind of the structure of, the resume and how that can translate over to your LinkedIn. It's super similar in a sense, only that it is, in similar layout to kind of a Facebook page in a sense. So, you're going to have your profile picture right at the top. You're going to have your headline. You're going to have a summary, your experience, education, skills, volunteer experience, and then your resume, which can either be digital or a hard copy. All right. And so you guys, if you are just starting off and creating a profile, you will be given an option to select a profile, a student profile or a professional profile. So if you do elect the student profile, this is what it's going to pretty much look like. So you're going to have your courses and your projects listed at the top. You're going to have your internships and part-time work. And you're going to have your organizations and clubs, your volunteer and service learning experience, followed by your honors and awards. And you also have the opportunity to have short and professional recommendations. So if, you had a really good relationship with, it could even be, in the sense your teachers or a professor, and they can kind of speak to what the work that you accomplished, you can ask them for a, short recommendation there. All right. So in the scenario that you already have a professional profile, that's okay, and you want to add a section. Again, the big difference between the student and the professional profile is pretty much adding in that section that offers your courses. So you can always go back in and add that in there. So, don't fear if, you want to highlight that portion, you definitely can add that on there.
Yeah,
All right. And the big one that folks always ask, the profile professional picture. So this is really important because, of course, this is kind of the first glance that recruiters get when they are noticing your profile. So really important, to have a specific LinkedIn photo. Really shows that, you're serious about your career. You want to make sure that it is high quality, make sure that you are centered and it's not like a selfie with a crazy background. So, even if you don't have one right now, it's totally okay. We definitely have, modern cameras on our cell phones. So if you feel like you don't have one and you want to create one, definitely use your cell phone, have a friend on campus. The big point is having something that you can dress up with and look professional in the photograph. So for a woman, you want to have maybe a blazer on, a blouse, something business casual. And then for a male, you would like to have a collared shirt, a suit, or jacket if you do have one on hand. All right.
Oh, and actually before we move to that, and for those of you who are like, Myra, I don't have a picture like this. Honestly, like Rebecca mentioned, the cameras on our phones are so like just amazing quality. I mean, if you were to show up to your campus, have a friend of yours take a picture of you maybe against a blank wall or against, a lot of the school campuses have like areas where there's like a lot of plants and stuff. You can use that, as your backdrop. You really can take a nice picture without having to go to any sort of place to get it professionally done. So definitely make use of that. And then also, Rebecca, you had a tip as well, right?
So actually, Canva, if you guys are familiar with that platform, they actually have a new feature that integrates artificial intelligence to be able to kind of crop out what it is that you're wearing and replace it over with a professional attire. So look out for that. We might have something integrated in the near future to help you guys out if you still feel that your photograph, you're not feeling exactly confident to post it yet. So, look out for that information. We'll definitely be able to help you guys uplift and feel confident before posting it on your profile.
Yeah. All right. So your headline is what appears under your name. And so with your headline, something to keep in mind actually before I get to this is companies pay to use the services of LinkedIn. They have recruiters at companies that are always on the search for potential candidates, right? And so when a company pays for services via LinkedIn, they pay for it because of their search engine. And so recruiters on their end can look for specific things that they're looking for in individuals. It might be a specific skill set. It might be, a specific level of education. It might be experience, whatever it is that they're looking for. They can use all sorts of different filters. And so that's why it's super important to tailor your LinkedIn profile with specific keywords and just make use of the words that you have on your profile. So that way you can come up in recruiter searches. So with that being said, with your headline, as I mentioned, it appears right under your name, but your headline should include your job title or your aspiring job title. Because if a recruiter is looking for, I don't know, a civil engineering technician, but they know that a lot of times that level may come from a student that comes straight out of community college or is at a community college level or even a college, whatever, education level. You want to make sure you pop up in that search, right? So by putting, even if it's not your current job title, but you're aspiring to do that, I would put that as your job title because that way you pop up in the search. Don't use complicated words or even vague descriptions, because the harder you make it or the more unique you make it, I guess, the harder it is for you to pop up in the recruiter search. I would, if you're like Myra, well, I'm technically not, I don't have this job yet, right? Why don't I just put, I'm actively seeking work? I would avoid doing that because again, a recruiter is not gonna put in their search people who are actively looking for jobs. They're being very specific, right? Or not, you know, they're being somewhat specific, looking for you know, a certain title or whatever. And so if you put actively seeking opportunities, or current student, again, you're just kind of missing your chance of popping up in a search. Now, I'm not saying to lie, right? We're not going to lie, but we're definitely going to put what you're interested in doing in your headline. And then in your summary is where you can explain, you know, I am currently a student at so-and-so school. My goal is to become a, you know, civil engineering technician, or, you know, computer engineering technician, you know, and so on and so forth. So you can explain later. But again, we just want to optimize your opportunities to pop up in searches. So, if ever you need to edit any part of your profile, whether that be headline, work experience, education, whatever, you want to make sure that you go to either add profile section if you're missing a section, or go to the pencil. Those are going to be kind of like your key things that you can use to make edits and add things to your profile. Now, once you go to the pencil icon, it'll look something like this. Again, this is where you can edit your headline, your positions, education, industry, all that good stuff. So for example, mine at the time was, you know, student services coordinator at Santa Ana College. Again, I made sure to put that, you know, student services coordinator, because I know that that's a key word. There are several job positions and many different employers that have coordinator positions. So I made sure to include that. If it was me right now, I would probably take out my where it said Santa Ana College, because that might reduce my chances. So I would probably just leave it as like student services coordinator. All right.
All right. So our next section is going to be your education. So you're going to want to include all of the colleges and universities, even if you've taken any trade or technical courses along the lines that you've attended. So again, degrees, certifications, whether you've completed or if they are in progress, you still want to make sure that you're giving yourself credit for those. So you want to add the schools, because it's going to allow you to search everyone within that network. So pretty much once you go ahead and add that school onto your profile, you'll be synchronized with everybody else who was there along that time period. So again, that pretty much connects you with any old classmates and alumni who have, you know, pretty much walked down that same pathway that you're on. And then with a high school education, you definitely want to kind of evaluate on a case-by-case basis, and only if you've earned a certificate, or if you were in a career technical program, for example, you know, graphic design, business, medical, there's some teaching pathways out there, or if you are on your campus's JROTC, definitely give yourself credit for that. All right, so what does that look like on the LinkedIn end? So it's going to kind of show up like this. Make sure to link them in chronological order. You'll see your school's logo pop up. So you'll go ahead and add the school, the degree. Again, if it's in progress, you still want to list it, your field of study, and then your start and your end date.
With that being said as well, this isn't necessary. If you don't feel comfortable with putting a start and end date, that's okay. I know that I think on my profile, I don't have a start and end date, just because I don't want that much information, but I for sure at least would make sure that you include the schools that you went to, because again, as Rebecca mentioned, this syncs you with that school's page and that group of people who also have listed these schools on their page. And so it creates a level of connection with others, which again, you'll see in a minute. It makes it easier to reach out to people and connect with people, because if you see someone's profile who also went to UCI, and they happen to work at, you know, a specific place that you want to go to, it'll show that you guys are connected at a certain level, whether it be like level 1 connection, level 2 or 3. And that just means that you have something in common. So again, it's a great way to kind of be an icebreaker to be able to like reach out to someone. And I see someone raise their hand. Justin, go for it. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Tao Somerville, Justin's mom.
Yeah.
He is a high school senior
Yeah.
with a dual enrollment in a dual enrollment program. He's in a senior in his psychology class right now and not able to be on here. So I told him I'll listen in for him.
Yeah.
So my question for him is, under the education part, since he's a senior, when he graduate this spring, he will have 2 IT certificate from Forsyth Technical Community College. So what should he put there?
I would definitely put Forsyth because I mean the dual enrollment means he's a student at both schools, not just his high school, but also Forsyth. So I would make sure to include Forsyth for sure, and then list those certificates right away. That's awesome. And if he did participate in a STEM or IT pathway at his high school, then go ahead and include that. As he kind of goes down the line, I would say, and this goes for everyone, and you start adding on your time in college, I would probably take out the high school. But if you're like a first year student, and again, you did earn some sort of STEM certificate, whether that be robotics or computer science or anything like that, make sure to include it for the time being, because I know for a lot of first year college students, you're like, Myra, well, I don't really have much experience, or this is barely my first semester in college. Again, this is something, if you did have something STEM related in your high school experience, definitely something great to put on your profile. Great question.
One more question. So he attended also the Python Academy, and they told him that he got the LinkedIn, badge.
Yeah.
What is that?
A badge is basically kind of like a neat virtual way to show that he got certified in something, or he completed a course or something, right? And so usually those type of badges you can put like on your resume. You can put as an active link on your resume if you're sending it virtually. I need to do a little bit of digging. I feel like you are able to put badges on your LinkedIn account. I would just have to do some research, and I can always send that out later to everyone, or include it as an additional slide, and then send out the updated version for you guys to check. But yeah, those digital badges are really neat too, because again, it's just kind of like an indicator to employers that this person completed XYZ and they have now been certified in this, whatever the badge is in. So yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your question. All right. And then this is still Rebecca. Sorry, go for it, Rebecca.
Yeah, no worries. So also another good way to take advantage of the features that are offered along the lines of connecting with your alumni. So if you end up going to your school's page, you can see where are folks living currently and where they're working. So use that to your advantage. If you are interested in maybe working at Kaiser and you see there are 99 people that attended Santa Ana that are currently working at Kaiser, you can actually click into that and see, what departments are they working in? Can they give me some advice? Can they, give me some insight of the company culture or the hiring process? So definitely leverage that information and use those connections to your best advantage.
Exactly. All right, so experience section. On the experience section, a lot of this information will come from your resume. So when I created my LinkedIn account, I made sure to have my resume at hand with me just so I can refer back to it. And in essence, your experience is, any sort of like internship or job that you've had, to show employers like, hey, this is what I've been doing, right? However, for your experience, because this is your LinkedIn profile, most of the time, I believe you can choose for it to be private, but then if you do that, you kind of limit yourself to who can connect with you. So in order to, I'm a very private person. I like to keep a lot of my things on, private mode. However, with something like this, you know, the purpose is to network, right? The purpose is to connect with other, you know, employers and this and that, or just to connect with people in the industry. And so this profile for me is public. But because of that, I make sure to be careful with what I share on there, right? And so I definitely include like my job title and the companies that I've worked with. You know, I'll put like the date range. But I would highly suggest for students to make sure not to give everything away on your LinkedIn profile. I would say with each experience, be super selective with what you want to put on there. Maybe include 1 to 3 maybe bullet points that explain your experience for that job. Because another thing that you want to do is you want to pique the interest of recruiters and managers. Give them just enough to be like, okay, Rebecca looks very interesting. I want to learn more about her. Let me message her. Let me reach out to her. And so by kind of holding back on everything that you do, again, I wouldn't let necessarily, if on my resume, I have 10 bullet points under program coordinator that I did at Santa Ana College, I would maybe include like 2 bullet points, 3 maybe max. Again, maybe some of the top things that I did, or the things that I'm were most interesting to me or something, put those on there. And again, just keep it at that. Just be short and sweet, to the point, and just, again, you want to pique the interest of employers. And then also, if you're like, well, I don't know what I should put on there from the list of 10 bullet points that I have, what I also do too when I'm creating, whether that be my resume or LinkedIn profile, is I will look up job descriptions of positions that I'm interested, and then I look at my resume. Have I done any of these things that this job description's asking? Okay, if I did, I will make sure that the way that I have it listed on my resume, that's the bullet point that I'm going to use for my LinkedIn profile, because I know that companies are specifically looking for this. So I make sure to try to match that, right? So again, just be selective and just keep it short and sweet. Again, you want to pique the interest of the employers. Now, with LinkedIn, I also like to think of LinkedIn, apart from a professional networking, like social media tool, I also see it as kind of like a live, more interactive resume. Because with your resumes, obviously it's, you know, a paper, whether that be hard copy or digital. But in essence, it's a paper with all your information, right? You can't really attach videos and stuff to it, but through LinkedIn you can. And I think this is a really great opportunity, especially for our STEM majors, to showcase your skill set. With LinkedIn, you can include photos and videos of your work, of projects that you've done, especially if it's relevant to your major. So for example, this student right here, he worked at Best Buy as a repair technician. He worked 20 hours. And so he put this video up just to show, again, it's not necessarily something that's very STEM-ish, I guess you could say, but it shows, one, I think, initiative, 2, like, hey, he's a tinker, right? Like, he figured out a way of how to, you know, help his coworkers with this. But in essence, for his experience at Best Buy, he put that he worked 20 hours a week in the service department, fixing everything from laptops to iPhones. He received 5-star rating from 97% of customers. And then he included this video that he made for his teammates on how to replace cracked iPhone screens. Again, one, he's really quickly in one bullet point basically saying everything he did. And if you notice, fixing everything from laptops to iPhones, to me, as an employer, maybe looking for someone who is in the STEM or technical fields, that shows me right there, like, oh, okay, so he definitely knows how to work and, you know, tinker, and he knows how to, I mean, I'm assuming that fixing things like laptops and iPhones and whatnot requires some sort of technical skill. It requires like being a, you know, critical thinker, like figuring out what the issue is, finding a solution. Remember, if you did attend last week's workshop on creating your resume, we talked about quantifying your experience anytime you can, meaning if you can put a number to something, research has shown it makes it easier for people to visualize. And so he put right here, received 5-star rating from 97% of customers. So, I mean, that's already great positive reviews, right? So again, a great way to just quickly quantify his experience at Best Buy. And again, not everyone, well, I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever made a video for my coworkers to show them, hey, this is how I did this. This really just shows like, man, this student went out, or this employee went out of their way to create a video for his teammates, for his coworkers, so they know how to do, you know, XYZ. So again, it just shows, I think, how this person went an extra mile to help his coworkers, and it shows like, wow, he was clever enough to make a videos to document this, to share. So again, just a really neat thing that LinkedIn has that a typical resume does not. All right, Rebecca, was this you? I'm sorry. Oh no, this was me. My apologies. So internships, volunteering, and organizations. Again, most of this information will come from your resume. Again, keep it to like one bullet point of what you've done with these things. You know, include the company name, your title or position, or the dates that you did this. Keep it short and sweet. And again, repeat those keywords that you want to be known for or that you know employers are looking for. So, for example, this same student, he was also in the robotics club, which, to be honest, by looking at that video and things that he's done, I could totally see this, right? So he was in the robotics club. He helped found and lead his school's first robotic club, including a trip to Sacramento Regional for the first robotics competition. He volunteered at Habitat for Humanity. He helped to build a new home for a refugee family. So again, just really great things. And as you can see, he punches like that one sentence has a lot of, it gives a big punch, right? Like it gives so much information in just one sentence. So again, that's what I mean. You don't necessarily need to have 20 different bullet points to explain things that you did. Just short and sweet and to the point. All right.
Alrighty, now we are to the skill section. So it's really crucial that you at least include 5 soft and technical skills. So some examples of some soft skills can be strong work ethic, positive attitude, good communicator, time management abilities, flexible, team player. And then you definitely want to highlight your technical skills. So some of you guys have been working with different programming languages. So if you took, Python this summer, or you're currently working on it, definitely add that on there. If you have AutoCAD under your belt already, definitely highlight that as a technical skill. If you have any phone skills, medical procedures that you are, able to speak to, definitely add that there on your technical skills. And next page. These are really, really important because when you add these onto your profile, it pretty much gives you a little synopsis of what you can pretty much apply for. So when you add these onto your profile, it'll pretty much say you are X amount percentage compatible for this kind of job or this kind of pathway. So the more that you add on there and the more that you kind of tailor it to where you're trying to grow into, the more opportunities that will be populated on your search bar on LinkedIn. So pretty much adds opportunities onto your basically dashboard for you already based on the skills that you're qualified in.
And also, again, we're keeping in mind that recruiters, when they're searching for people, they might be looking for someone who's versed in AutoCAD or Java or Python or whatever, or a CNC machine or stuff like that, right? If you have those skills listed on your LinkedIn profile, again, that will mean that you have a higher probability of popping up in their searches. So if you list the skills, so for example, this was based off of my profile, right? So I'm in student affairs, tutoring, teaching, community outreach, nonprofit organizations, student development, any sort of company who's looking for a, program coordinator. If they type in any of these things, because I already have them listed on my profile, that just means I have a higher probability of popping up in their searches. And LinkedIn does a really neat job about sending you emails and letting you know, hey, someone's been looking at your profile, or hey, this job that matches a lot of the things that you currently do is available and they are hiring. So if you're interested, come and apply for it. So again, by putting all these different skill sets or information on your profile, it definitely helps LinkedIn see what interests you have, and therefore connect you with these other opportunities. Now, the summary portion of your LinkedIn, I think it's super important. It is the area where you can describe what you're passionate about doing, what you're skilled at, and what your goals are. Basically, think of it as a way to expand your headline and to offer more details. Remember how I said in your headline, if you're trying to look for an internship as a computer science technician, or a computer engineering technician, but you're like, Myra, that's not my position right now. That's fine. Still leave it in the headline so you pop up in the searches. But then in the summary section is where you can say, I'm currently college student working on my degree towards blank, blank, blank. My goal is to obtain a summer internship as a computer software technician, or whatever it may be. So that's where you can explain, like, okay, I don't necessarily have this job right now, but this is what I'm aiming towards. So again, you're explaining that in your summary. So I like to you don't have to go and create a whole 2-page paper in your summary section. Honestly, again, it's where you can just kind of give more information to the employer. I like to think of it in essence kind of like a cover letter. And just FYI, if you are going to be applying for our summer internship opportunities for next summer, we don't require a cover letter from you, but I know that when you are applying to things, a lot of jobs do. And so a cover letter is just a quick way for you to introduce yourself, explain why you're applying, or what you're applying for. And again, just a quick little intro to the employer, right? So I always kind of think of the summary as my cover letter. Again, not too long, just enough information that it gives the employer to know what you're about. And then again, if they're interested, that's where they will reach out to you. So with your summary, which is different from a resume, right? Because on your resume, we tell you do not write in first person. On your LinkedIn, because it's more informal, it's still professional, but it's informal. And it's more personalized, you definitely can write in first person here. I like to think of it as use your summary as a way, think of it as if you're talking to someone. So with this said, in your summary, I would say to include about 70 to 80% professional information, and about 20 to 30 personal information. Not TMI, okay? But again, just to kind of give them a glimpse of your personality, of your interests, of your passions. Other things that you can include in your summary, you can include accomplishments or accolades with your values, passions, strengths. Again, always highlight past results with numbers if possible. Talk about problems you can help solve, and include those keywords throughout your profile and in your summary. And a couple last things on the summary section. Again, like I mentioned, treat it like a cover letter. Show the employer things about you that they couldn't necessarily learn from just reading your resume. Again, it's a more personal, the LinkedIn profile is a more personalized version of your resume, okay? And then use a summary to tell a brief career story too, even if it's just about the career that you aspire to have. This is also a great way for students who maybe are, if you're a returning student and you're like, Myra, I worked in, this other industry for 10 years or 5 years, and now I'm coming back to be a STEM student and get my degree in, mechanical engineering. Great. You can use the summary section as a way to kind of explain that, because they'll see in your work experience, right? Maybe you have 5 years work experience in something that's not related to STEM. You can even explain that briefly there. I worked in so-and-so industry, but have come to realize that my passion is bringing me down this path of STEM and blah, blah, blah. So again, a great area to explain that. Make sure that you proofread though. Get a friend, professor, mentor, whoever to look over it before you post. I normally, what I like to do is I pull up a like Word doc and then I will type up my summary there. And that way it can hopefully catch things that I'm not seeing as if I were to type it directly into that summary section on the actual LinkedIn page. And then make sure you check your spelling, you know, the spelling of company names, all that good stuff. All right.
All right, so when you create your profile, you will be given kind of a standard URL that looks something like that in the middle. So a bunch of numbers, random letters, and you know, it's not really easy to follow in a sense. So really important, claim your URL. So what will that look like? Generally, you want to add your first and last name. If you were here last week for our resume workshop, you met Anita Job. So our example there, you know, / Anita Job is her URL. So make it something easy. You know, if your first and last name is a little bit more common, you can definitely add a number at the end to help, you know, get you your URL claimed. So when you select view profile, you'll click on edit profile, public profile and URL. And same thing, you'll see that little pencil icon under the URL. And that is where you'll be able to personalize yours so that employers can find you more easily. Also, sometimes folks carry over their LinkedIn to their resume. So it just keeps things, you know, really clear and easy to follow instead of, you know, trying to decode all of the letters and numbers that are just generated for you. So thank you, Myra. This is what it looks like on our profile. So again, upper right-hand corner there, you'll go ahead and select edit public profile and URL, and then you can see if your first and last name is available to claim.
And you said the perfect example, Rebecca. I have run into students at the college that I worked at who had business cards because they would go to a lot of like really neat conferences through the school. And one day they gave me their business card and I'm looking at it and everything looked great. And then it came down to their LinkedIn profile. They had it listed on there, which is great, right? Especially from like networking. But they hadn't claimed their URL. So their LinkedIn address basically looked like this. And I was like, oh no. I mean, imagine giving, you know, your business card to someone and then them trying to look you up and then they have to try to type all this in because I mean, no, right? And so that's why you want to make it easier for them and claim your URL. So that way, if they do happen to see your information like on a paper form and they can't click on any sort of link, they have to search you and, you know, type up your name. If you claimed your URL, it's just going to make it easier for employers to find you. All right. So I believe this one's me. Okay. So the do's with your LinkedIn profile, again, as a reminder, you want to write in first person, write as if you're having a conversation with someone, because again, the LinkedIn profile is a more personalized, even though it's still professional, but it's more personalized, kind of not as strict in how you're professionally not displaying yourself, but just communicating with others in the industry or in the professional world. Make sure to show your achievements, but don't brag and don't lie, obviously. Again, remember to include a job entry, even if you're unemployed. Create a dummy job listing, meaning like a fake one, right? Not a fake one. Put a legit, real job listing or job position, even if it's one that you are aspiring to do. And again, in your summary section, go ahead and explain that you don't currently have this, but that is what you're working towards. Again, the whole point is to get you to come up in recruiter searches, okay? And if you want to list in the name of the company box, because it asks you, you know, to list that, you can always list in transition or seeking new job opportunity or new opportunity. But again, make sure that under that job listing, you put what you're aiming towards. All right, and then a couple more do's. Update your profile when needed. I know I'm guilty of this. So definitely make sure that as you get a new position and whatnot, you are updating this, because you never know who's looking at your profile. You never know when that next opportunity may come. So make sure that you are keeping, just like you update your resume, do the same thing for your LinkedIn profile. And then pursue opportunities. Again, if you next week that you attend the Caltrans Employer Speaker Series event, and you just thought that everything that they said about Caltrans was perfectly aligned with what you want to do, where you want to work at, all that good stuff, and the speaker offers their contact information, connect with them via LinkedIn. Again, doing it, especially right afterwards, right after a conference, right after a speaking event like this, is a great way for you to have like an in to talk to them, right? Like, because you'll be fresh in their minds. You can just say, hey, I'm from the STEM Core event. I, really appreciated you coming to virtually speak to us and learn about Caltrans. I wanted to see if I can, connect with you to just further talk about internship opportunities, or like what it's like working at, or your journey through, your STEM career, whatever it may be. But again, doing it right after some sort of event like that is a great way to connect with these individuals. Especially if sending like an email is a little too scary. LinkedIn, again, it's still professional, but it's a more like relaxed way to do it, not so scary as having to write a professional email directly towards them.
Right. And then kind of to those lines too, I want to echo what Myra mentioned. When you actually meet that connection right away, I like to consider that kind of like a hot lead versus a cold lead. So when you make that connection, right, you kind of solidify that connection down the line, and it gives you the ability to be able to message them whenever you need to. Versus, let's just say 6 months, 7 months later, you're like, hey, I remember so-and-so. At that point, that lead is a little bit cold, right? You kind of let it sit in the back. Now, they may or may not remember you. So, odds are maybe they will respond to your message, maybe not. But if you had done it back then when it was a hot lead and they remember you and they remember that event that, just occurred, then you have that ability to always message them down the line. So just think about it in that sense too. And then some things to avoid, this is, again, a professional social media platform. So don't overshare, feel the vibe, check it out, get a sense for what folks are talking about, topics that are being, discussed. And don't use your school email. So what will happen, you'll carry out 5 years later, you can't access your account, and you can't get back into your school email because it's pretty much been null at that point, and odds are it's going to be really challenging to get into that account. So do make sure you use a professional email and add that dual authorization. Just go ahead and add your phone number so that if for whatever case you get locked out, you do have that second layer of protection to get you in. And then again, LinkedIn is super, unique in a sense that you want to observe that feed before you start to create material, before you feel confident in actually making a post. So yeah, definitely keep it minimal and very professionally relevant. You want to avoid trying to connect with, random folks, making those random requests, because oftentimes, again, they'll end up sitting there if they are cold requests. So, try to avoid those, keep those connections relevant, and then always send a message when you do send that connection request. So like Myra mentioned, if you end up hopping on that Caltrans workshop that we're offering, and you find the person who led the conversation interesting, just go ahead and write a small memo there that will refresh and jog their memory of who you are and how you're relevant in terms of that connection. And then avoid buzzwords. Some of the most used ones on LinkedIn are responsible, creative, effective, analytical, strategic, patient, expert, organizational, drive, and innovative. As as appealing as those words are, those are the ones that are almost really recycled and used on the platform. So try to avoid those.
And just to go back a second, under random connection requests, what we mean by this is you don't want to just start like adding all sorts of different people, just because they're in the industry that you want to be at. This is why we say make as when you're personalizing and creating your LinkedIn profile, make sure that you again list your schools, list follow like certain company pages that you're interested in, because again, when you create those connections and you add them in essence to like your network on LinkedIn, when you do want to reach out to someone who maybe works at Lockheed Martin and you already follow the Lockheed Martin page, it'll show you might not have anyone in common that but you at least have like that you both follow the Lockheed Martin page, right? Or if you list that you went to so and so school and you follow that school, you're connected via your LinkedIn profile pages. If someone who you found on the Lockheed Martin page also went to that school, that shows a certain level of connection. So that again, it allows you to not be like just a random person trying to connect with people. It'll show that there's some sort of level that you are somehow connected. So that's what I kind of mean. And if you do a random connection request just because you want to, that's fine, but at least follow it up with a message, because again, I find that even in my own experience, when I see that there's someone trying to connect with me, but I have no sort of form of, level of connection with them, I do take a look at their profile. But if it looks like a very random request and there's no message, I just kind of just deny it or ignore it. So again, I know that that's something that employers do too. So just pay attention to that. So I know that was a lot of information and we're down to basically a minute left, but I do want to leave some time for any questions. And I did see a couple come up in the chat. So let's see, what do I write if you have job gaps? You know what? Again, I think that's okay to list. If you do have job gaps, that's okay. And that's another great thing where you can put, you can, if you have an explanation for it, you can list that on your summary. If you don't, and it was because you had to take a break for whatever reason, I don't necessarily think that you have to explain that per se if you don't feel comfortable with it. Again, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. If it shows that you took a break from work because you've been going to school, again, that's why that might be a good reason to list, that's a good reason to list your school, but then you can explain that in your summary. So, taking a step back from the professional world or whatever, to go back to school to obtain my degree in so and so whatever. So again, that's where that summary portion comes in. Let's see. What if you don't know the exact title job that you're aiming for? Great question. I would say to do some research, right? Like, if you know that you want to study, for example, computer science, if there's something, maybe you're more interested in like software development, or maybe you're more of a hardware person or whatever, start seeing what kind of job opportunities there are, or career opportunities there are. And if there's something that interests you, maybe list that. Or if you're like, Myra, that is still way too specific, then I would say at least, still include something that has the title of, your major, right? So whether that be computer science intern, obviously it's way more general, and you might come up in the list of another, I don't know, 500, people that recruiters search for, because it's not as specific, but you'll at least still pop up in a search, as opposed to if you put nothing. So again, try to make some sort of connection somehow that's relevant to what you want to do or what you want to study. Let's see. Do you see any other questions on here, Rebecca? Let's see.
I think Andy's question was, what if you don't know the exact title?
Oh yeah, so that one we just did. Okay. I heard many people like the premium version. Do you recommend it? Yeah. Oh, perfect. Rebecca, you answered. Yeah. I mean, I honestly think you're good with the basic. I have a basic account, and I still get a lot of connections and I still get emails that tell me like, hey, you may be limited as to like certain things that you can do. But honestly, I think at this point in time, especially like if you're still in school, you're fine with the free version, honestly. I think that's it, unless I missed anything. Any other questions?
Got one command. Can I add several positions I want and are similar, like stating aspiring software engineer and data science?
Ooh, okay, good question. I would say if it's like just two, maybe. If you start listing more than that, that's where if you remember that I mentioned, the more you kind of complicate things, the wordier you get, it makes it too complicated, if that makes sense, when a recruiter's trying to find you. You can always put your other interests into your summary section. So I if I were you, I would try to limit that to maybe just one of those titles, because again, because you're including all that in your headline, it can make it a little complicated to come up in the searches for recruiters. So again, I would definitely make sure you include that in your summary. Okay. Oh yeah, and definitely feel free to add us, no problem. Connect with us, and we're more than happy to connect with you guys. And what sort of people should one connect with? Great question. Again, attend the employer speaker series that we're going to have. You're going to meet so many professionals that are going to, I'm telling you, I would say majority of them are always sharing their contact information. Connect with those people right away. I'm telling you, that's a perfect example of networking and being able to take advantage of these opportunities that STEMCore is giving you, right? Because you're able to connect with these professionals in this way, even if it is virtual, as opposed to like if you're not able to go to in-person conferences through your school or stuff like that. This is a great way to do so. So I would connect with people like that. You can connect with us. You can connect with professors also at your school sometimes. Again, you'll start to see how you can easily start to build your network of people via LinkedIn by creating those connections first. All right, I think that's it. All right, so thank you so much to everyone for joining us. We greatly appreciate you coming and spending time with us. We hope that this was helpful for you all. We will be sending you an email with the recording of today, so you can look back and refer to it. But other than that, we look forward to seeing you next week for our employer speaker series. Thanks again so much, everyone.
Have a good weekend, everyone.